My name is Bruce Miles. I was born and raised in Kansas to the ripe old age of 7. My father moved to Houston as a World War I veteran to work in World War II and as a liaison for the Hughes Tool Company and the Air Force. And so I grew up in Southeast Houston. Boy Scouts kind of got my interest in the outdoors, and my dad decided that I needed to be an electrical engineer and go to Rice Institute, which it was known at that time. And both Rice and I agreed that I really didn't care about electrical engineering, so I came up to Texas A&M, where most of my friends were coming at that time. And after about 2 years at Texas A&M, I decided that I was interested in forestry. My roommate and I decided we would hitchhike out to Oregon and work for the U.S. Forest Service through a job that his older brother had gotten. And about the time we were ready to leave, Dave got an appointment to the military academy in West Point, and so I went out by myself to work on the Rogue River National Forest in Oregon next to Crater Lake, what I thought was the most beautiful country that I had ever been in. And I worked for the U.S. Forest Service along with 19 or 20 other college kids, and came back home and told my dad that I decided I wanted to go into forestry. At Texas A&M, they did not have a full 4-year program, so I had to go to one of 3 other schools, one of which was LSU over at Baton Rouge, closer to home. And so I received a scholarship through A&M and LSU to go there for my last 2 years of forestry. The scholarship consisted of paying my out-of-state tuition and 1 round-trip bus ticket to and from Baton Rouge. And I worked for a surveyor over there to make money to go to school in Baton Rouge, and interviewed during that period of time with Director A.D. Fulwaller, who was director of the Texas Forest Service at that time. When I finished my last year at Oregon, which was planting trees in November, I had a military obligation to make, so I went on to serve my military option, and I decided to go to work for the Texas Forest Service. Later, some 20 years later, I was going through my personnel file, and I found a letter that Fulwaller had written to the file, which he was quite fond of doing. And he said, "Today we interviewed Bruce Miles, an LSU graduate. He's finished his military time, and but he's also thinking about going to Oregon." And so we're in competition with his desire to work in Oregon. Then at the bottom of the note, he said, "Our best chance is that he's dating a girl over in Louisiana, an LSU co-ed, and if she'll do her job right, we may get him to come here." So I read that letter, and that's the first I'd seen of it in 20 years. And I was associate director of the Texas Forest Service at that time over here. So I dropped by his house. Fulwaller and I had become friends, and contrary to our relationship when I was working for him. And I said, "Al, I found this note about my relationship with Diane and why it would be in the file, and I was not aware that you were interested in this." And he gave me kind of a stern look, and he said, "What were you doing looking in the personnel files?" I said, "I will remind you that I'm associate director of the Texas Forest Service now, and that's part of my responsibility." He just laughed. He said, oh, all right. So anyway, with that being said, I came to the Texas Forest Service, and I was hired. My first assignment was at Lufkin, Texas. Ken Burton was the district forester then. Ken was a veteran of World War II in the Navy, and he was on leave at that time. So I was assigned to Elza Hardy, who was the forester at that time. And I walked in the front door of the office at Lufkin, Texas, and there's an old timer named Ollie Hill that was there, and he was an old timer. He was 64 or 5 then, and at my age now, I don't even remember what I was doing at age 64 or 5. But Ollie and 2 or 3 of the old timers were sitting there, and they welcomed me. Said, "You must be Bruce Miles," and I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "Are those brand new boots you got, Bruce?" I said, "Yeah, they are. They're Red Wing boots. I'm proud of them." And I'll never forget what he said. "Well, you better get used to them because you're never going to be able to afford new boots working for this outfit." And I think my salary was about $4,200 at that time, and I had just left the Army as a second lieutenant, making $222 a month. But I had, they furnished me clothes, if you like khaki, and meals and a place to live. And so it was all right to start for a single guy, but I knew I wasn't going to make much headway getting somebody to marry me at that salary. So anyway, that's kind of the start, how I became a young forester for the Texas Forest Service.